Yeah, buddy. What up, y'all? Happy Thursday. New Year's Eve. Yeah. Hold on, we gotta fix the audio real quick. Alright, let's check the audio now. Let me see that it's good. I don't know, it wasn't picking up the mic at first. It was going through the webcam. Let's just see if it sounds like the mic's picking it up now. Nope. Let's try this one. Let's try this input. Just a quick mic check, real quick. Hopefully it's not the webcam picking it. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. All right, now I think we're good. Just to confirm, it should sound like it normally does on the other podcast. I don't know, we'll get a sound check. Yeah, see, I feel like now it's good. Let me know. Let me know, Brennan. Let me know, Dan, Mike. I see you guys in the live. Should sound like it does on the... Okay, audio's better. There we go. Now we're talking. Yeah, a microphone coming out of a webcam just isn't gonna cut it, you know. Yeah. I invested in a Shure SM7B, you know, a lot of money into my audio setup. I want it to be solid for you guys, especially for those listening on headphones. Maybe on just like a phone, it won't matter. All right, let's go ahead and transition over to the show. All right, so just to double check, I hope we are good on the audio. Get a sound check real quick. Yeah, 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right, let's try this one. See that it is there. Get a sound check. I think we're good. Yeah. We're back on the standard mic. We're good now. What up, y'all? Oh, coffee, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Man, I really hope you guys are having a great day. I really do. It's New Year's Eve, you know. Yeah. And actually, so the community here is super small. I have 300 some subscribers, some of which probably don't even know I'm doing a sports show with the channel, so who knows. But the channel is young. This is the inaugural episode of the NBA podcast here on Sneed Sports. Super excited to bring it to you. What I want to do with the Sneed Sports channel is I want to do a few things. Number one, I want to focus on 3 major professional sports. The first being the NFL, which it's a great time to start a sports channel with the NFL. The regular season is wrapping up. The postseason will be ready to start here in a week or two. We'll know all of the who's in, right, within the next week or so. So excited to do coverage on the NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl and all of that. We're also starting coverage on the NBA. The season is young. It's been a couple of weeks now, right? Maybe about 10 days or something like that. And the NBA is very intriguing. I've been watching all the games, tons and tons of hours spent watching these games. But I'm really excited because I feel like the NBA is very talent rich, and it's really spread out, meaning not all the talent is on a single team. And there are some players that are absolutely tremendous gems to watch play. And I'm super excited to just offer commentary on it. Whether or not people care to listen to my commentary on it is another issue. Excuse me. And yeah, it's just exciting times. And I'm also going to do some UFC coverage, some mixed martial arts. I'd like to bring on some contributors. I'm probably going to, my goal is to have at least 2 or 3 more people involved in the show, whether it's the podcast, like the NBA podcast or the NFL podcast or the UFC podcast. So I will be doing 3 podcasts on this particular channel. The UFC one will be sporadic. That one might be like more like every 2 weeks or every 3 or 4 weeks even, because in that particular sport, there's really only one promotion to really follow. I will cover some things occasionally on Bellator, but not often. You know, it's just the UFC really has the show. It's their stage in mixed martial arts. But the NBA show is going to be weekly, and the NFL show is going to be weekly. So we'll have 2 weekly podcasts in the form of the NBA and the NFL. We'll have either a bi-weekly or a monthly podcast on the UFC. And then, of course, I'll have guests on all of those. Again, the goal is to bring on a couple of contributors. I may even have some other people creating content and uploading videos here on the channel as well. So I've already done a couple episodes. We've done some NFL coverage. I focused primarily on that for the first few videos. I also did a Steph Curry hot take. For those of you that haven't seen it, check it out. It's in the catalog of videos. You could peep that. I know I might get a little bit of pushback on some of these hot takes. I'm perfectly fine with that. The thing about sports is it's not always going to be factual, right? It's not always going to be clear cut of which team is the best and, you know, which players are the best. There's always opinion. You know, it's really about trying to prove that your opinion is valid. You want to validate your perspective. And I know a lot of you do like sports. You know, hey, thanks, Brendan. Appreciate you being here. If you are an NBA fan, we've got coverage for you. If you're an NFL fan, we got coverage for you. Maybe you're a UFC fan, we got that too. And with multiple contributors and people that are going to be a part of the channel, you know, it's going to make it very well balanced in perspectives. For example, a couple of the contributors I have will bring some really interesting angles that they're passionate about sports. That's the goal, to bring people on that are passionate and find enjoyment in voicing their opinion on the matters. So in today's particular podcast, I want to focus on the NBA, currently how it's played out for the first week and a half. I really wanted to do this a day ago, but I wanted to really prepare what I wanted to discuss and cover. So what I want to do is, after the first week of the NBA with hey Maverick, good to see you, man. I want to cover the current standings. We'll look at the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. We'll look at them individually. And then I'll follow that up with a power rankings to kind of see where, if we were to fuse the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, if those designations did not matter, how would the teams rank? And of course, all this is based on basically 2 things. Standings. So I'll cover the current standings, and then my observations, like how I've seen the players play and how I've seen the teams perform thus far. So the opinions and the perspectives I have as of right now are not static. These things are going to be changing and being modified as the season goes on. There's no way you could tell me that the standings today will be the same as the standings 3 or 4 months from now when they start the playoffs in April. Right? There's just no way. As we go through March and April, teams will have established their identities. But today, the teams may not have an identity. For example, Dallas, the Dallas Mavericks. I think as of right now, they're 1-3. That is not a team I expect to have a losing record throughout the course of the season. I do not. They are way too talented. They have an amazing young leader, right? And I think there's other teams too that have underperformed. Even good teams with like winning records, I feel should be doing better. They've lost games they shouldn't have, but it's a young season. It's the very start of it. So I don't want to jump to conclusions. I'm just going to call it like I see it. Right? I'm going to make it so everybody who hears what I have to say, it's as of right now, currently constructed December 31st, New Year's Eve of the NBA season. We've only played, some teams have played 3 games and some have played 4. Some have played 5 games, but that's really it. You don't know much about the genetic makeup of a team after a week or two. You don't know much within the first 5 games. You just don't. The 4th week, the 8th week, right? We're talking about maybe 40 or 50 games in. Now you start to know what the team really is. Is the team good on defense? Does the team have good leadership? Is coaching a problem on a team? Is it player personnel? Is it a lack of depth? Is it lack of offensive identity? Who's the leading scorer? Is that who they're looking for to be an offensive leader? Those things take time to develop. So, as Maverick stated, he says it changes from week to week. Look at the NFL. Totally agree. Yeah, and there's other things that play a part of this, like COVID-19 is not going anywhere. Players may miss multiple weeks due to protocol and policy. That's going to change by a few wins, right? Could you imagine, knock on wood, this does not happen, but take a player with the caliber of LeBron James, pictured here in the center of the image. If he was to get COVID-19, which I don't expect him to, the dude is just so good at taking care of business. I just don't expect him to. But if he did and he missed a couple of weeks, that changes the Lakers' records for those 2 weeks. I would expect the Lakers to lose most games without LeBron James. I know that they're NBA players and the roster is loaded with players, but Anthony Davis simply cannot carry the Los Angeles Lakers without LeBron James for an extended absence of 2 weeks where they might play 6 games. All right. That being said, there are a lot of moving parts in the season. The pandemic's not going anywhere. I don't care how many vaccines get distributed. It's just not like that. What's up, Barry? Good to see you, man. Middle of moving furniture. Should be able to jump in the chat soon. Awesome. Glad to have you, man. Thanks for supporting, and we're glad you're here to watch the show. So I've dragged this on, this little introduction, but again, I wanted to preface it. All NBA podcasts are for the week of where the teams stand according to that time frame. All right, so after about 3 to 5 games for each of the teams in the NBA, here are the current standings. We're going to take a look at the Eastern Conference, and then we're going to take a look at the Western Conference. All right, so I've got some notes. I've got the standings written out. I put them in order as the NBA has them. Okay, so starting with the Eastern Conference. Team number 10, 10th in the standings. So if the season ended today, they'd be out of the playoffs. The Miami Heat. They are 2-2, so they don't have a losing record. They're a 500 team. In my opinion, I think they're underachieving. The Miami Heat have expectations of getting to the finals. They just got to the finals where they lost to the LA Lakers after I think only winning 1 game. Maybe they won 2 games. I don't really remember. It was pandemic times and all of that. Yeah, Sheep brings up a great point, and I've already added some moderators to the YouTube side. So we got Mike West, we got Dan, we got Baby Yoda Brennan, as well as I think Barry's also one. So for you guys kind of being the early parts of the podcast and the early parts of the channel, I will be adding moderators for those that are considered OGs of the game. Maverick, I will also add you as a moderator, sir. Glad to have you on. You have all been knighted. So thank you to you all. So the Miami Heat actually lost a big game, or lost in a big way, I should say. They had a huge loss. I'm trying to remember who they lost to, but they lost big. I don't know if it was like 30 points or something like that. But in my opinion, I feel like at 2-2 with a really bad loss, that's uncharacteristic of what the Heat are, and it's an underachievement. They lost by 47. I know them as well as the Clippers had that huge loss earlier in the week. Huge letdowns, right? Yeah, absolutely. So the Heat at number 10. At number 9, we have the New York Knicks. I think a pleasant surprise in the standings. I don't think people have high expectations for that organization or those players or that team. So that being said, it's nice to kind of see them in the mix. They're 2-2. Puts them at number 9 in the conference standings. I don't expect them to make the playoffs, in my personal opinion. I don't know if they're talented enough. I don't know if they have the leadership. We'll see. We'll stay optimistic about the Knicks, but so far they're playing pretty well as a team. I watched them on a couple occasions. They're playing hard, so big shout out to the Knicks. Next, at number 8, we have the Hornets. They are 2-2. I think the Hornets have the potential to be a nice team. They're very young. They have a lot of young players. They obviously have LaMelo Ball. He's their big draft pick. A lot of hope for him as a star in the league. You know, he is supposed to be the best ball brother. He is hitting shots. I saw him the other night hitting threes from like 25, 30 feet away. So he's a shot taker. We'll see if he ends up being a shot maker. But thus far, I feel like the Hornets are a fun team. I'm going to be following them very closely, not just because of Melo, LaMelo Ball and the whole Ball family situation with LeVar and, Melo's dad. But the team is interesting. They have some nice players. Gordon Hayward is a nice player. It seems like he's back in his groove. He may provide some leadership to that team. We'll see what happens with the Hornets. I'm excited about them moving forward. Let's look at the Celtics in at number 7. They're 3-2. Some may say that the Celtics are a little bit of a letdown. I mean, they're 3-2. That's not bad. It's still a young season, but they've got players that they probably want to step up. The Celtics have Jaylen Brown, who is a nice player. Jason Tatum is a phenomenal talent. I mean, offensively, one of the best in the league, in my opinion. Getting his own shot as a shooter. We'll see if he takes a step forward in leadership and he becomes the vocal and an apparent leader of the squad. They've got a good coach who knows how to get the most out of his players, I feel. They also have a new addition in Tristan Thompson, who's going to do a lot of the dirty work for that team. Yeah, she brings up the fact that Jaylen Brown scored 42 last night. He is a very good player. There will be nights where Jaylen Brown is cooking, and there are nights where Tatum is cooking. That's a nice combo. Those two players are one of the best combos in the league. I think a lot of people fail to realize it. They overlook Jaylen Brown a little bit because he's a little inconsistent as a scorer. There's games where he scores like 11, and then there's games where he scores 40, 42. So I think for him it's going to really be consistency to really be taken seriously as a legit scoring option, as an elite scorer in the league. But Tatum, I think, has shown much prowess offensively as his game has gotten better and better. The Celtics are a legit team to watch. I expect them to finish in the top 3 or top 4 in the Eastern Conference. I don't think anybody would be surprised if they did that. In fact, I think it would be an underachievement if they didn't finish in the top 3 or top 4 of the East. All right, moving on to the Nets at number 6. They're 3-2. The Nets have really high hopes. They have an incredible offense. In my opinion, they are the team I expect to win the East. I know that they're like number 6 right now, but that really doesn't matter at this point in the season. Where you're seated right now after 5 games is meaningless. The Nets can score. I really do believe it. Like, they could score 180 points in a game. They scored like 145 or something last night. They'll go as far as their 2 stars allow them to. I think the supporting cast has to focus on their roles. Whatever players are in there with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Kyrie is really a huge X factor in this. Where is he mentally as a leader? I know Kevin Durant, a lot will be placed on his shoulders because he has championship pedigree. He came to the Nets, after rupturing his Achilles, with Golden State. He missed the entire season last year and stuff like that. Kyrie, a lot has been said about him on a personal level, alienating teammates in Boston or whatever the case may be. All that is water under the bridge. Every season's a new season, and the narrative can change about a player, from any type of transitional year. Those two guys picked the New Jersey Nets, or excuse me, that's how long I've been watching the NBA, when they were the New Jersey Nets. That's how long, when they came to the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie's been there, but the situation with Kevin is he chose to join forces with Kyrie in Brooklyn. And they got this new coach in Steve Nash, who's never coached before. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the best point guards of all time. He's up there with like Oscar Robertson, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson. Like, he's statistically that good. He never won a championship, but I don't think that's a requisite to be an NBA coach, right? I mean, there are NBA coaches who never even really played basketball, but they know the game. Anyways, the team's loaded. They've got leadership. They've got championship pedigree. I know they lost Spencer Dinwiddie, I believe. They've got LeVert. They've got some nice players there. They've got guys that are going to be expected to play their role. I think the Nets are going to be the team to come out of the East. But as of right now, they've got a couple of bad losses. Give them some time to mesh. Give them some time to find some cohesion. Kevin Durant looks phenomenal. Kyrie looks phenomenal. That team, some guys will have to step up for that injury to Dinwiddie. He tore his ACL. He's done for the year. But we'll see how that plays out. Surprisingly, at number 5, we have the Atlanta Hawks. They're 3-1. The Hawks look good. If you don't know that the Hawks are good, now you know, because Sneed told you. I've been watching them. They have shooters everywhere. It starts with Trae Young, right? But they have made some acquisitions. They made some roster moves that has really enhanced their offense. And I think with the addition of Rajon Rondo, helping Trae Young along in his development, there's part of growing up in the NBA, focused, improving your game. Do you want to take your defense seriously? Areas that you can improve with the coaching, but also player leaders on the roster. There's championship pedigree, and there is a tough mentality that comes with Rajon Rondo. Part of the reason why I think the Lakers won is because of Rondo's leadership and his ability to step up in the playoffs. Can't sleep on that. It's valuable. And they brought in some nice players that are hitting shots. I mean, the Hawks can drop 20 points on you in like 3 minutes, because they're shooting dagger threes from all over the place. So don't sleep on the Hawks. I think they are legit. They've got shooters. If that team commits to the defensive end, if the coaching really gets the most out of the players, I think they could finish in the top 4 of the East. No doubt. And Ron, good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. I've gone ahead and added you as a moderator, sir. Thank you for being here. Rajon Rondo is one of the most valuable players in the entire NBA. He is. Mentally, when he's there, the dude is one of the best. I'm telling you, that championship pedigree, that tough nose mentality that he brings to the table is a game changer for a roster, especially a young team that doesn't have that genetic makeup yet. He brings it to the table. So I'm really excited about the Hawks. They're going to finish in the top 5, no doubt, maybe the top 4. Don't be surprised, per se, if they finish in the top 3, only because I feel like they're going to have a hard time dealing with the Nets, and they'll probably also have a hard time dealing with either the Celtics or the Heat or the Bucks. So those things kind of matter. We'll talk about some of those teams a little bit more later. At number 4, currently, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. They are 3-1. The Sixers are an interesting team. They have very good talent on their squad. They've undergone some changes, throughout the organization. In my opinion, they have underachieved to this point. Part of that is because of their 2 star players, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. There is something about Ben Simmons that, if you haven't noticed it, is really important to understanding why the Sixers are not as good as they should be. I am not the type of guy to judge a young player and just write the book on him and call it a day. But there's something about Ben Simmons that is glaringly obvious, and if you haven't noticed it, it has not gotten better. He can't shoot. It is so imperative that you have some sort of an established jump shot, or else the team can start to defensively prepare for the inability of you to shoot. When a team sets up its defense and it has a scheme or an approach to defending a player, if you can't shoot, you have taken out an entire responsibility for the defense. They literally can say, he can't shoot, we'll give him the shot. In certain scenarios, you have to take and make jump shots. Whether it's a 10-footer or a 15-footer, there's 2 seconds on the shot clock. You may not be able to get to the hole, especially if they clog the middle of the paint. Teams are literally going to box Ben Simmons outside of the paint. That's going to be their goal. This is especially true in the playoffs when defenses have the ability to prepare and make adjustments throughout the series. Ben Simmons, with the exception of maybe Russell Westbrook, is one of the most deficient point guards in the league. He is missing certain skills and missing certain attributes that will allow him to blossom as a player. It's sad to see, but I have to call a spade a spade. Ben Simmons has a ceiling because he cannot shoot the ball. You know, I just look at his numbers. Not only does he not make the shots, but he really doesn't even take them. You've made the defense's job easy by only being a one single dynamic type of player. It's unfortunate, but I think that's the case. Now, from Joel Embiid, he is an impactful player because of his position and all the diversity of what he can do. Joel Embiid is 7 feet tall. He's a big dude, and he's very athletic. He can defend, and he can score in a multiple, wide range of ways. Joel Embiid can hit a three. He shouldn't take too many. I hope there never comes a day where he takes more than 3 threes in a game. You know, if he's feeling it, he's getting hot, maybe 4 or 5. But I do not want to see a day where Joel Embiid is taking 6, 7, 8 threes a game. All right, he's a center at the end of the day, and he shoots it decently for a center, but he's not a guard. So I think they will lose if he has to take too many threes, but he has the ability to knock down some deeper shots. So he's dynamic in that way. He has a very good post game. He's very big. He's a good rebounder. There's a lot to like about Joel Embiid. How seriously does he take his health? How seriously does he take his preparation for games? His ability to recover, his diet? I think all of that matters. Hey, Goldfish Gang, what's going on, buddy? Joel Embiid is a great player and a great talent. Maybe one of the most freakishly capable players in the league. I think Nikola Jokic is also up there too. You know, the Joker is tremendous. Centers that can do so much. Joel can pass too. You know, I think he has to be a little bit mindful of his turnovers, and he has to be a little bit mindful of his shot selection. But the dude is a stud. Through and through, there's very few players in the NBA we've seen like Joel Embiid. He's a generational talent. Can he put it all together? Can he do all the right things to make sure that he extends his career and stays healthy? And obviously, injuries have plagued him in the past. So, if you've ever wondered why the Philadelphia 76ers have never reached any type of potential, it's because of those two guys. They've had their limitations. More so Ben Simmons, though, than I think Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid with the injuries, maybe that's not his fault, right? But there's certain things I think he can control that will make his career better and make the team better. Now the supporting cast, Tobias Harris is a great player. I really do like what he brings to the table. He's got a solid shot. He's a good defender. He's lengthy. He can rebound. He can pass. He's great. But it is going to be their supporting cast that is going to help players like Ben Simmons out at times when he can't shoot. And Joel Embiid, obviously a big cog of what they do offensively and defensively, right? So we'll see where the Sixers end up. The Pacers are surprised at 3-1. I think some people are probably surprised they are, that high up. I don't really want to offer too many commentary on some of those teams who I don't expect to be there near the end of the year. So we'll see how the Pacers play out. They've got a new coach and they've got some new, pieces there. We'll follow them. We'll see if they can sustain the winning in the future. At number 2, total surprise in my opinion, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They were actually undefeated up until recently. They lost their last game. Who'd they lose to? I don't know. I forget. But I watched the game, and they were in the game. The Cavs play hard. The Cavs signed JaVale McGee. They got some leadership and some center backup for Andre Drummond. Drummond is having a very good year. He's a very effective player. The numbers aren't going to like jump off the stat page, but he is very impactful for that team. And, with Kevin Love in and out of the lineup, that's another thing we got to talk about. Kevin Love is done. I've called this a couple of years ago. He's obviously on the roster and he's getting paid and he's got one heck of a salary cap hit. He's kind of one of the leftover parts of the Cavs championship run from several years ago. I'll talk more about him later. But the Cavs, I believe, with Colin Sexton, and you guys know I'm a Cleveland guy through and through, so I'm watching that team very carefully. I think Colin Sexton, Garland, these young players are absolutely tremendous. They've just got to put it all together. They've got to continue to improve game to game, week to week, month to month in the year. But they have some leadership on that team. And, we'll see how the coaching pans out. And we'll see how their defensive identity becomes, because Larry Nance Jr. is a very willing and able player on both sides of the floor. He tries to look for the best shot for his teammates, tries to get them involved. He's willing to rebound and defend. He can sky, like the dude can jump. He's fun to watch. There's some really nice things going on in the Cleveland Cavaliers organization. We're excited about them this year. Do they end up in the number 2 spot the rest of the year? I don't think so. But we're rooting for them, and that's another team that I'll be watching closely. And number 1 in the Eastern Conference, we have the Orlando Magic. I did not expect this to happen. Again, one of the surprise teams, I think, along with the Pacers and the Cavs. It's incredible to see the Magic doing so well. They haven't really played good teams, though. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, Goldfish Gang, thank you. The Cavs lost to the Knicks. Exactly. Thank you. The Magic at 4-0 is a surprise, but they haven't really played good teams, so we'll see how that plays out once they get better competition. I don't expect the Magic to finish top of the East. Again, I think it's going to be, the Bucks have struggled a bit. They'll probably, get things together. I think the Nets are going to move up as well. I think the Celtics and the Heat, those will kind of be your like top 4, top 5 teams. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I've seen that. I've noticed that, Sheep. The Magic play great against the Heat for whatever reason. They get up for their interstate rivals or whatever the case may be. It's strange and unusual, but they really do. All right, so that wraps up the Eastern Conference. Let's quickly move through the Western Conference now. All right, this one kind of an interesting scenario here. At number 10, the Blazers at 2-2. I expect them to be better. I think they'll probably finish top 5 in the West. I know a lot of people have doubts about the leadership of Dame Lillard and C.J. McCollum, and I know they've got Nurkic and all these other players. I think they're going to be great. Personally, I think they're going to be awesome. David, good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. You've been knighted, sir. The Blazers should finish in the top 5 in the West, in my opinion. They probably will. Currently at number 10. And number 9, the Golden State Warriors. This is where things get interesting in the West. The Golden State Warriors, without Klay Thompson, cannot win a championship. It is as simple as that. Klay Thompson is a part of the backbone of that organization. You could make the argument, and I will too, that he is the most important player on that team. I know a lot of people say Steph Curry, he's like the DNA of the team, he's been there, da-da-da. I'm telling you guys, Klay Thompson does so much more for that team. Steph Curry can't defend a sandwich. Steph Curry can't really rebound. He's a smaller guy. He runs around offensively getting these threes. He's a tremendous shooter. I'm not discounting the offensive prowess, but he does so little else that he gets exploited by teams, especially in series. We've seen situations where he has been relegated to nothingness. Because if he's not hitting the threes, then what is he doing for your team? Right? Caleb, good to see you, man. I love his ability to shoot, but Klay Thompson can shoot as good as Steph Curry. Plus, he's bigger, therefore he could defend more positions and is a much more capable defender. And Klay's the type of guy that can score like 30 and a quarter. Not that Steph can't, but just Klay is scary when he's hot, and he could defend. And I think he's just a more dynamic player because he's bigger, and he can't be exploited as much defensively, right? He can actually shut down the other team's best guard or best small forward. So in my opinion, you have limitations with Steph, and it's showing. The Golden State Warriors are not a good basketball team without Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. And Draymond Green is like, they call it the heart and soul of the team because the dude just does so much as a defensive anchor. He's a willing defender. He's tough. He gives them a backbone. He's not going to get pushed around. He's a vocal leader. He's animated. He's very physical, that sort of thing. So without Klay to help offensively and defensively, and without Dre to execute the offense and being a part of that, and then the rebounding and the defensive presence, the Warriors just are not good. And the fact that they are now 9th at 2-2, they actually could be 1-3. The Warriors are not a good team when they don't have their other stars, and that's understandable. But I think it goes to show you, when I did my hot take on Steph, I could justify that Steph is not as impactful without the support, because when teams get to focus in on him, he's less scary. He could still hit a 3 from 30 feet, and that's pretty scary. But as a coach, you live with him taking 30-foot threes. If you're an opposing coach, you're like, how much can he make of those? 25% of those? That's not bad. We'll live with that, So they're not in last place, Ron, but they're like number 9 right now. All right, number 8, we got the T-Wolves. I don't know too much about the T-Wolves. I've only watched them play once. It was one of the games where they actually played pretty well. We'll see where they end up. I don't know how realistic it is for the T-Wolves to make it to the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. The Spurs, same situation. These are like teams that are on the fringe. They could make it in. They might be left out. I think the Spurs with DeMar DeRozan as their offensive identity, that's pretty good. Patty Mills is a nice little player. They just don't have enough skilled players to really thrive in the West. That's a tough conference. At number 6, the Pelicans at 2-2. Zion Williamson, he's a huge piece of the NBA's identity, right, moving forward. He's a face of a franchise. He's also a face of the future of the league. When LeBron is going to retire eventually, right, he's going to be one of those guys. So he's a lot of fun to watch. Also, they got some nice young players. They have a good young core. And with some new leadership there, we'll see if they take the next step. I do expect the Pelicans to finish in the bottom 3 of the East of the Western Conference playoff run. So they're currently at 6. Maybe 6 is a little lofty. Maybe they sneak in at 7 or 8. I don't know. We'll see. At number 5, the Lakers, 3-2. The Lakers are an interesting team because they are fresh off the heels of a championship win. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, all these other players that they have. In my opinion, I feel like this year's roster is better than last year's roster. They'll need a little bit time to figure out the roles of each player, figure out the rotations. You just don't bet against LeBron. You just don't. Dude's in the finals every year. If LeBron James is not injured, his team is going to the finals. Check the stats over the last 17 seasons. When he's been active, he's gone to the finals at least half of those seasons, right? Maybe more, right? Like I think LeBron went to the finals 9 straight years, right? He's been in the league 17 years, right? So I think 10, what is it? Maybe 11 or 12 of his 17 seasons he's been in the finals, right? So don't sleep on LeBron and the Lakers. Anthony Davis is a tremendous player. If he doesn't have to be a team's number 1, that team's probably going to the finals. Like if he's the team's second best player, you're doing pretty good. Give them some time to kind of gel, figure out the roles, figure out the rotations. The Lakers should finish top of the class in the West. The Jazz at 2-1, they're the number 4 team in the West. I know they're going to be a playoff team. I expect them to be. I just don't know where they fall, but I don't expect them to be in the top 4. The West is just too stacked and loaded. They've got a nice core. They've got a good coach. I like what they have in terms of the roster construction. I do think they'll make the playoffs. I just don't know if it's in the top 4. The Kings at number 3 are 3-1. A pleasant surprise. The Kings make it into the top 3. I don't expect them to be the top 3 for the rest of the year. They have some nice young players, got some nice young scorers. How committed are they defensively? How will the coaching play out? Their sustainability on offense is going to be something that we're going to watch. I just don't expect them to be in the top 3. I do expect them to make the playoffs, though. Kind of like how they almost snuck in last year. They were in the play-in game. So I expect them to, kind of be around that 7 or 8 spot. It'd be nice to see them hang around in the top 6, to see them take the next step, but we'll see what happens there. The Suns, I think, are the surprise of the West. The Suns are 3-1. They're number 2 in the West. They've got amazing talent on that team, and they've made some roster moves that I think are going to help them long term. Have they ascended too quickly? I think some people are asking if it's sustainable. Do they have the leadership to do this? But they've got the right players. They brought in some key pieces that are bringing leadership to the table. Devin Booker is great. He's such a good scorer. He's so dynamic. He's so athletic. He's going to be really the driving force of their success. I know they brought in some other guys and stuff, and there's some older guys that they brought in, but hey, I mean, they're a team to watch. I think they make the playoffs. I'd like to see them finish in the top 6, competing with like the likes of the Pelicans and the Jazz. Maybe the Kings hang around. We'll see. At number 1, we have the Los Angeles Clippers. Let me tell you guys something about the Los Angeles Clippers. As of right now, they are a fraud. Do not believe in the LA Clippers. Who they are is most likely who they were last year, which is a talent-rich team with questionable leadership. The reason I say questionable leadership is because their top 2 players really had a bad ending to the year last year. I know they have, made some moves, and, Doc Rivers now is in Philadelphia, and he boosts that team automatically. Ty Lue and all this other stuff. I just don't know if the Clippers have what it takes on the roster. Based on last year, collectively as a whole, are they really legit? People are questioning Kawhi Leonard and his leadership. People have questioned Paul George for a long time, pictured here. I don't think Paul George is who some people think he could be. I think he is who we think he is. Right? He is a fantastic number 2 player on a team. If he's your number 2 player, you're in a good place. You're going to be competitive. You're going to be very good. But he can't carry a team. And the game that Kawhi Leonard was out in with that facial fracture, he took that elbow, from his teammate. He could not carry the team. He's just not like that. We saw him in Indiana. He actually was the leader of that team, and he was very good there. He's good everywhere he goes. He was good with Russ in OKC. But there's just something about Paul George that he doesn't have. And the concerning part there is he's now, over 10 years in the league. This is who he is. So if you're expecting Paul George to all of a sudden become a LeBron James or a Jimmy Butler, with that leadership intangible, I don't know if he is that. I really don't, which is why I don't think we're going to see the Clippers finish number 1 in the West. I think some of those troubles will continue to haunt them. Defensively, they can be very good. They have the players to be the top defensive team in the league. That's something we'll have to see if it's sustainable. And then offensively, do they establish roles for each of their guys and an offensive system that works for them in the playoffs? The Clippers, they want to win a championship. Anything else is a bust. They've got to get to the finals. Then we could start talking about the Clippers. But for now in the regular season, it's really just about them establishing themselves as a legit threat to make it to the finals. They have the players to do it. But based on the ending to the year last year, I mean, could it have ended any worse for the Clippers? And then they kind of exile their coach. There's a lot of problems there, in my opinion. All right, the jury's out on the Clippers. Great team in terms of talent. Questionable, how things will play out. We'll have to watch and see. But again, if they're good defensively, they will be one of the best teams in the West, for sure. And then they have too much talent offensively. Why wouldn't they finish in the top 2 or 3 in the West? All right, so those are the standings. I want to give you guys my power rankings. This is personal. All right, what I gave you just now, that list, that was all standings. You go into the paper. If anybody reads the newspaper, you go on to NBA.com. Those are the standings. I want to take a look at my power rankings, though. My perceived impressions of where the teams stand as a top 10 in the NBA. All right, so forget the Eastern Conference, Western Conference designation. Here are my top 10 teams in terms of power rankings. At number 10, I have the Portland Trailblazers. I believe in that team. The reason I have them so low at number 10 is because they're in the West, right? They're playing a lot of tough teams, and they haven't gotten all the wins I think they could have had. They're 2-2 right now. If their record was 3-1, I probably would have ranked them at like number 8 or number 7. So I had to knock them down a peg. Blazers at number 10, expect big things from them in my opinion. They're my dark horse to make it to the Western Conference Finals. Number 9, I have the Cavs. Call me a homer. I love the CLE. But the Cavs are 3-1 right now. Why shouldn't I put them in the top 10? They're number 2 in the East. So I didn't want to put them too high out of respect for the other players and the other teams and how good they are and how good I know they will be. But I wanted to make sure I put them in the top 10. No disrespect to the Cavs. You're top 10, but I don't know if it's sustainable. At number 8, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. In my opinion, I think the Sixers are talent-rich. Should they be higher than number 8? Maybe. But again, it's a show-and-prove situation. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Are they able to help their team ascend through the Eastern Conference? Number 7, I have the Phoenix Suns. This is strictly based on their record. I don't know if it's sustainable. We'll have to wait and see, but I didn't want to disrespect them. They are number 2 in the West, so I had to put them in the top 8 for sure. At number 6, I have the Orlando Magic. I have to. I just told you why I have the Suns and the Cavs and the Blazers in the top 10, right? The Magic are number 1 in the East. They won't end up number 1 in the East, and they probably won't end up in the power rankings beyond the next couple of weeks. I just don't think so. But out of respect for their 4-0 record, we're putting the Magic at number 6. At number 5, I have the Bucks. All right, this is completely a Giannis thing. I really do believe in his talent, and I really do believe that there are some games where, Chris Middleton and these other guys that are his supporting cast, there are games where they can blow up and hit a ton of threes. And then Giannis is a truly tremendous talent. Defensively, he's a force. Dude does a lot for that team. You got to put the Bucks in the top 5. They have the reigning MVP, back-to-back MVP. So I'm going to put them at 5. Number 4, I'm putting the Hawks. The Hawks are scary good. They are something to reckon with of a team. Like, their guys are hitting shots everywhere. Pretty much all their players can hit threes. I'm watching them. Boom, boom, boom. It's just flying all over the place. It's like going into the rec, your local rec center, playing hoops, and then you play against a team you've never seen these guys before. They just pull up, and they just start knocking down threes, like 4 out of their 5 players just making it rain, man. It's intimidating. It's scary. They're young. They've got Rajon Rondo now for the leadership piece. They brought in a couple of guys. I think that the Hawks probably finish in the top 4 of the Eastern Conference if they can sustain the shooting. Trae Young is tremendous. He is so much fun to watch. I believe in him as a star moving forward in the future. Watch out for Trae Young. At number 3, I have the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant is the real deal. It doesn't really look like he lost anything. It doesn't look like the injury sapped his athleticism. He looks about as athletic as he did before the Achilles tear. Looks like his recovery was a success. He's been out for over a year and a half, so the recovery is not a concern. Kyrie looks very good. He's a great player. He's very, very potent offensively. They're scoring like 140 points a game. The Nets are legit. If they can develop a defensive identity, I think it bodes well for them. If they keep teams around 100 points, I think the Nets are going to win 75% of their games. All right, so we'll see, with the Dinwiddie, situation with his injury. I don't know, if that's going to affect them long-term, if they find other guys to kind of make up the slack a little bit. But Steve Nash, the coach, he'll have to figure that out. I look at Allen and LeVert. Those guys are nice supporting players. That's a good roster. Joe Harris is tremendous. Come on, man. You got Kevin Durant, who can shoot from anywhere in the gym. Kyrie can shoot anywhere in the gym. And Joe Harris can shoot anywhere in the gym. That is a scary team. And LeVert, come on, man. That is a good team. That team could score literally 180 points in an NBA game. Legit. Watch out for them, especially towards the end of the game, the end of the season. I'm going to just, out of respect for Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers' talent, I'm going to put the Clippers at number 2. I don't know if they're championship material, but you can't sleep on all that talent. I'm going to put the Clippers in at number 2, and the only reason they're number 2 is because of the Lakers at number 1. You don't bet against LeBron James. You would be foolish to do that. I don't even like LeBron all that much, but I do respect the player, right? He, in the last 5 years of his career, dating back to maybe 2014, so when he left the Heat, he was still in his physical prime, like an absolute monster, physically imposing. He, for most of his career, has been the biggest, fastest guy on the court on any given moment. He is now no longer the fastest guy on the court, but he is the smartest guy on the court. He's also still physically very strong. He knows how to use his body, protect his body. He's got this everlasting physique where he avoids injury, he takes on contact. He's just done a great job of taking care of himself and sustaining the latter half of his career. He's become a shooter. He can shoot the 3 from distance. He makes it at a good enough clip that you have to respect that shot. His back to the basket, his post-up game is very solid. It's not the greatest, but it doesn't have to be the greatest. It just has to be good, which I think it is. He gets to the hoop, layups, dunks. He still attacks the rim. His free throw shooting is really his Achilles heel. Some people, some people question his commitment to the defensive end at times. He picks his spots on defense. He is a very good defender when he needs to be and when he wants to be. His rebounding is fine. LeBron doesn't really have holes in his game. And even in year 17 of his career, he's still the best player in the league because there is nobody that is more efficient and intelligent than LeBron James. And I'm not here gushing over him because I adore him. I actually don't even like LeBron all that much. Anybody who knows me knows that. There's certain things about him that I don't like. It's more about his personality, but I don't let that intervene when it comes to, discussing his skill, talent, and performance as a player. He's absolutely tremendous. So I got the Lakers at number 1 because of Anthony Davis, LeBron. They brought in a couple of nice pieces. They upgraded the team. All right, so that's just kind of me and where I stand with the power rankings. All right, so Blazers, Cavs, Sixers, Suns, Magic, Bucks, Hawks, Nets, Clippers, Lakers. All right. Hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. Thanks for being here to watching the live. Hashtag 2LiveCrew if you're watching this in the live. Hashtag Replay Gang if you're watching this on replay. That's right, Ron. LeBron is still a force, especially in the paint. Absolutely. The bromance is real. Nice, David. All right, what I want to do is I want to give you guys 10 observations. So if you caught it, I did the top 10 in the East, I did the top 10 in the West, then I did my top 10 power rankings. Now you're getting my 10 observations from the season. I've watched 60 games so far or something like that. I'm literally, each night, I've watched at least 3 or 4 games. Sometimes I'm watching all the highlights, the roundup they do on the NBA YouTube page. I'll watch, which they show you every scoring play. So I've watched a lot of stuff. Here are the 10 things that I've observed, and they are in no order. There's no sequence to this. These are just 10 things I've observed. All right, the first thing I've observed. Kevin Durant is amazing. He has not skipped a beat. This dude is so prolific. He is so efficient offensively. The dude can hit a shot from anywhere. The dude literally just springs up, jumps. That shot might be at like 12 feet by the time it leaves his fingers. Kevin Durant is an absolute force offensively. Defensively, because of size, he is imposing enough. Whoever he has to defend is going to have a hard time getting by him. Kevin Durant moves well for a 7-footer. Don't get it twisted. Kevin Durant is 7 feet tall. Kevin Durant can get a bucket against any player in the league at any time. End of story. He is absolutely tremendous. He is a joy to watch. The dude can shoot from anywhere under any circumstance. He is absolutely amazing. He has not skipped a beat. The next thing I've noticed, Kyrie may say stupid things, and the burning of the sage and all that was ridiculous. Kyrie at times I think is like just weird. No, there's nothing to explain, or I don't know what's going on there. But man, is he a baller. Kyrie gets buckets in ways that are absolutely amazing to watch. Around the rim, very few are as efficient and effective at scoring at the rim. I know I know a lot of people are enamored by dunking. I'm not. 2 points is 2 points. His layups are so buttery smooth. The angles, the left hand, the opposite side of the backboard going up and under. Kyrie is art when it comes to offense. He is artistically scoring the bucket around the rim. His shot is butter. He can shake and break down anybody. I love Kyrie's offensive game. He's a bit of a ball stopper, right? The ball stops moving. He's got a lot of Kobe in that way, but he is absolutely tremendous. That combo is a real thing. That's the best combo in the league, I think, in terms of two players. I think Kyrie and Kevin Durant are the best combination of players. You can make the argument LeBron and AD and stuff, but Kevin and Kyrie are the best. Number 3, observations. Paul George is not a goon. Paul George is not a championship caliber player. I don't know if he ever becomes that. But when Paul George had to carry the Clippers when Kawhi was out, they lost by like 50 points. I mean, they were down over like 53 points at one point in that game. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if that will ever change. Paul George is not a goon. Nobody is scared of Paul George. Nobody is intimidated by his abilities. As good as he is, they kind of know what he really is as a player. I don't know if that ever changes. I don't know if it's a toughness thing. I don't know if it's a killer instinct thing. He's just not. He's not LeBron. He's not Kevin Durant. He's none of that. He's not Jimmy Butler. Like the mentality. He's just not that. Next observation. LeBron is still the best basketball player in the NBA. He's still the best player in the world. He's just too efficient. He outside of the occasional turnovers, and he always takes chances, the ball's always in his hand. I don't judge him by that. May not always say the things that are the best thing. I don't know. He's got a lot to talk about his legacy, and that might rub people the wrong way. But the talent is undeniable. He's been able to uphold his body to sustain, long stretches of seasons. He's played a ton of basketball. He's a modern marvel. LeBron is amazing. He's still the best player in the world. Him and Kevin Durant probably make that argument, right? Next observation, Trae Young is a superstar. Trae Young is a scary offensive juggernaut shooter. He can hit the three from anywhere. He is Steph Curry in a way in respect to that three-point shooting prowess. I'm sure the percentages are similar. The fact that he can hit it from anywhere, his confidence is through the roof. He's a nice kid. I think he's going to be committed to improving and getting better, becoming more efficient, that sort of thing, kind of learning his position a little bit more, committing to certain aspects of getting better in some of those areas where he's lacking. Trae Young is a superstar. Watch out for this kid. He's so young too. He's got so much to still achieve. Next, the 76ers and the Bucks are good, but I'm not sure if I believe in them as playoff teams, right? So like the Bucks, that's been written about them before. The Sixers, same thing. They'll win games in the regular season. They obviously have a ton of talent. I actually think that Doc Rivers can do something for the Sixers to where I think he can get them to compete for the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll see how that plays out. The Bucks, as long as they have Giannis, they're in the mix, right, to finish top of the class in the East. I just don't know if Chris Middleton and those guys are enough to get them into the playoffs to make a deep run. So I think that will continue to be a problem and something we're watching. The Orlando Magic, for my next observation, it feels like fool's gold. I don't think it's sustainable. Once they start playing good teams, I just don't think they're going to be able to stay up like that. My next observation, Kevin Love is falling apart. The Cavs are winning without him. He's not a big part of that team in terms of, like the future. He got paid as a residual of winning a championship in Cleveland. He was a big piece of what they did with LeBron and Kyrie and all of that. But Kevin Love is literally a dinosaur. The NBA has come and gone. The game is now predicated on athleticism and being able to do more than one thing. Kevin Love is physically breaking down. He has a bad back. What does he have? What is it? It's a calf strain. Players that get calf strains, it's either poor conditioning or it's overexertion, right? And I think Kevin Love, he's lightened up over the years to try to extend his career. He was a big, heavy guy in Minnesota, and he was hitting threes and rebounding, and he was physical. With the Cavs in his tenure dating back, 5-6 years, he's had no physical presence. He's been lighter. He's down to like 215 pounds or something. He used to be like 270, right? So clearly his body is deceiving, is just turning its back on him. Unfortunately, I think his career is just winding down. He still can shoot the ball. He still can rebound because of his size. He's a nice player. We'll look back and say Kevin Love was a pretty fantastic player. I don't think he's Hall of Fame material, but clearly at this stage of his career, his body is deceiving him, and he's just not sustaining. He just keeps having injuries. And, when they signed him to that long-term contract, I asked myself why. I just didn't get it. And I'm glad he got his money. I don't question whether or not he should get paid. But as an organization and looking to the future, he's just not that. Next, the Heat are underachieving. I think the Heat should be playing better basketball. I think they should be winning more games. Maybe it's a little bit of a playoff run layover or something. I don't know what's going on there, but I think they'll get it together. Same thing with the Lakers. They're kind of underachieving. The Lakers are 3-2. Give or take a game, they probably should have won. I don't know. We'll see. Give them some time to kind of work things together, get those kinks worked out, iron some things out. My next observation, Steph Curry cannot really carry a Clayless and Drayless Warriors team. He's not impactful enough to carry the Warriors in the West without big-time contributions from Clay and Dre. Now, Dre, when he comes back, which he should, they'll be better because Dre will help defensively. Dre will lead. Dre will facilitate the offense a little bit, finding ways to get, Steph the ball. I think with Wiggins, he's actually started to play some pretty good basketball. There have been a couple of players that have been kind of fun to watch on that team as they develop. But in my opinion, Steph's just not enough to carry that team. Even with Draymond Green, what are they, like a 5 seed, 6 seed in the playoffs? We'll see. Lastly, under the radar, Gordon Hayward is a good NBA player. That's my last observation. People sleep on this guy. He is a good player. When the expectations are correct and he's healthy, the dude is good. He's part of the reason why the Charlotte Hornets are playing a good brand of basketball, and it's the reason why they're winning some games. All right, so that's kind of some observations that I made in the league. All right, I've been watching. You guys tell me what you think about anything. Hopefully you commented, for those watching this on replay. I caught all the live chat. You guys are amazing. Big shout out to Ron, Mav, David, Barry, Sheep, I see you, Goldfish. I think Caleb was here earlier. Barry as well. Dan, Baby Yoda. You guys are awesome. Mike West stopped by as well. I thank you guys for hanging out with me. I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and end the show now. For those watching this on replay, comment below. What did you think about my power rankings? What did you think about my observations? Do you see things similarly? Do you see them differently? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Maybe these are discussions we can have as a follow-up in week 2 to see how the observations are changing, to see where the power rankings, if there's any shifting. There's a lot to see. It's a young season. If you watch this episode of the podcast and you're asking yourself, what is Sneed talking about? That's not how it's going to be in the future. I totally agree. Week 2, week 3, week 4, we're going to learn more about these teams. The conversations we're having in April will not sound like this necessarily, right? This is all as of week 1 of the NBA year. So, again, I'm excited about the season. I think it's a perfect time for me to start this channel and start the podcast. I'm very excited about the 2020-2021 season for the NBA. We've got more coverage from the NFL. We've got some coverage from the UFC as well. I plan on having more contributors, doing more content, and we're very excited about that. I want to thank all of my moderators, #ModSquad. I want to thank all those in the live chat. You guys are the best. Thank you to all the 322 subscribers on the YouTube side. Thank you all so much for supporting. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I wish you all a happy new year. And we're excited about the prospects of the channel moving forward in 2021. Again, thank you guys for being here. Hope to see you soon.